This week on Who Corner to Corner, dun dun dun, thrill as Paul and Geoff discuss cliffhangers in Doctor Who, marvel at the suspense of waiting for one whole week for the next episode to tell you what happened after the Doctor was just about to die, or whether his companion was about to meet a very particularly grisly end at the fate of the hands of some evil, vicious-looking monster that was just revealed merely a second before you went to bed as a kid and spent the whole week traumatized. How was that, mate? Was that all right?
Yeah.
Did I get my money now?
Yeah.
Thanks. That was hard work.
Still no call from Big Finish for voice work for you.
Do you know what? When you said to me, literally, 5 seconds ago, do you want to do the introduction for this? I had no idea what was going to come out of my face right there. But that was it. That's what it did. So, yes, welcome, listeners, to a thrilling, spectacular, suspense-filled episode of your favourite Doctor Who podcast. It's Who Corner to Corner with me, Paul, and my good friend Geoff over there in the corner. Hi, Geoff. How you doing, buddy?
Hello. I'm good. You all right?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. I'm in a very good mood because I've been away for a week. I've had a whole week on holidays. The experience was slightly tainted by the fact I bought a bad T-shirt in Forbidden Planet, which is no fault of Forbidden Planet. It's entirely my daughter's, and I'm blaming her for it completely.
Yeah. Well, she didn't even get the right size. It's not like she was surreptitiously trying to get you to buy her a T-shirt.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? Look at that. It's a brilliant T-shirt. It's the only problem is it is a cut for a woman, which is not great because I have a rather, should we say, portly figure, rather broad on the shoulders. You know,
you're quite,
the boob space is good, but the rest of it sadly is a little bit narrow down there.
You're quite svelte, but it was.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Triple XL, I think you got there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just the right size completely, right, everything. So, and you know, because I'm one of these guys who, when somebody says to you, "Do you want a receipt for that, mate?" I'm too cool to say, "Yeah, please give me the receipt." You know, unless I really need it for expenses or something. But I'm like, "No, it's fine. Keep your receipt. Let's save the planet." But no, if I'd had the receipt for it, I could probably get a refund in exchange or something. Yeah, so we'll sort something out with that.
That teach you that couple of seconds to get the receipt on something like that.
Exactly.
Invaluable.
Yeah, and also take your glasses, because the reason I asked Freya to find me one is it's not really her fault, it's actually my fault, is because being slightly short of sight in my old age, mate, I did have my reading glasses with me, but I'm in Forbidden Planet full of cool nerdy people, full of cool nerdy stuff, and I didn't want to put my reading glass on because I'd look less cool than I already do.
I'm sure you would.
Not that I look massively cool anyway, but I'd have looked even less cool, right? So I said to Freya, "Yeah, just find me the right T-shirt, right size. You know what I want." She found it. She goes, "There you go." I stuck it down to the till without looking at it.
You need to ask her if she was pranking you. Do you know what is annoying?
She probably was.
When you order a T-shirt online and it comes and the print is not quite what you were expecting. Well, you had that hat, didn't you?
I did, yeah, because this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be, to be honest. There's at least one figure missing off of that, and it's just a kind of a stick-on with an iron, which I could have done myself.
And I've bought T-shirts before, and they end up coming, and they're like one microbe thin, material, which, I'm not going to wear that. Or you think, oh, this is good, and then you whack it in the wash, and then it shrinks. And it's unwearable. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, the quality on that T-shirt is fantastic. Beautiful. Do you know what? The Forbidden Planet shirts are are brilliant. I have my Nikola Tesla episode, one with the
yes,
TARDIS with the lightning bolts. The one that Jodie Whittaker said, "Awesome T-shirt, mate."
She remarked on that. She remarked,
she did,
"Awesome T-shirt, Geoff." She said,
and I've had that a couple of years now, and I also have a white one with a TARDIS on it. It says, "What would the Doctor do?" And that's the print's still good. The shirt's all
good.
good.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
you see, you pay for the quality. That's why I'm gutted, because I was happy to pay for the quality. It's hanging up as well, so you're able to touch and feel it. And that's the whole great thing about going to a shop, isn't it? You get that tactile experience, which you don't get online. I thought, wow, I'm here. I'm in London. I'm in Forbidden Planet, surrounded by all this stuff. And there was a brilliant Doctor Who spread all over the shop. Yep. I mean, there was a corner of it with lots of other stuff as well. Like, I saw as well, you'd like this, the omnibus edition of the Aliens novels, which I was going to get. I could have spent tons of cash in it. But the only reason I didn't, and the only reason Frey didn't as well, is because we thought we're going to be carting stuff around London. A T-shirt's fine, and just slip into the wife's bag without her even noticing. She didn't even notice. I just slipped it in there, so she ended up carrying it around. They went to see Hamilton or something. So, she didn't even realise. Whereas me and my other daughter were just carting around London, enjoying the sights. Oh, look at that rather lovely clock, and look at that little palace there, and stuff like that. But it was good fun. It's great.
You know what you could do with the T-shirt? You could cut out the TARDIS door text and frame it.
Well, do you know what? Because I saw the actual plate where the sort of metal plasticky. It's probably plastic. It's probably acrylic or something, isn't it? Like a plate. And I was going to stick it at my door right there, pull to open, and all the officers respond to calls and that kind of thing. So I was going to get the actual plate. But now you mention it, I could do the T-shirt. I can't cut it up. I was just going to flog it on eBay. I can't cut it up.
Well, I was going to say we could give it away, but
we could give it away as a prize. It's unopened. Well, we'll decide what to do with this T-shirt. Yeah,
it is a massive one, so it's probably not much use for anyone really.
It's rather large. Yeah.
So we are talking cliffhangers tonight, aren't we?
Yes, we are, my friend. We are talking about Doctor Who's worthy cliffhangers. A
cliffhanger is. Well, I'm sure everyone knows what they are, but they're one of my favourite things to have. And some shows have a regular cliffhanger. A lot of American TV does, and you've got 22 episodes a season, or even 8 or 10 or whatever. But Doctor Who in the modern era doesn't really have that as much, because it's generally sort of weekly episodes, standalone. There's not much of a continuation on them. But the classic series, of course, is overflowing,
renowned for cliffhangers. Yeah.
And I was thinking about it earlier, and quite a few of the most sort of memorable cliffhangers that I have are from sort of end of series on shows. So I'm thinking of like series 4 of Alias, where Jennifer Garner's driving along with Vaughan, I think his name was, who's sort of
the CIA dude.
Yeah, CIA guy. He's like the on-off love sort of thing. And I'm just going to say what happens, because it's years old now, and if you haven't seen it,
be careful, because I'm trying to think if I think I have seen series 4 and a little bit of series 5.
Okay, and he says, I need to tell you that my name's not Vaughan, and I don't work for the CIA.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Then they get hit by a car.
And there's a whole thing about his dad or something, which I haven't seen that play out, because that's in series 5. I think.
And it was whatever the reveal is going to be from his revelation.
In fact, mate, do you know what? Actually, thinking about it, I think that's as far as I've got. I don't think I've seen series 5. I think I saw that cliffhanger.
Series 5 introduces the sort of half sister of Sydney through.
No, stop right there. Stop. This is not an Alias podcast, as much as I love it, but I do intend to return to that world. I'm trying to convince Freya to watch it, because I just know it's just the kind of thing that she would love. And in fact, she does love a strong kick-ass kind of hero.
Yeah, she'd like it. Particularly the season 2 finale was particularly good cliffhanger in that, which kind of blew everything in the show kind of wide open.
Yes.
But I remember series 1 was just almost week by week bangers of cliffhangers. That were,
it was, and a lot of them weren't really resolved though. If I recall, because it's that typical kind of J.J. Abrams thing where we'll set up some really great thing to keep people watching, and then it just gets forgotten about. It just gets frittered away, or it's sort of answered, but it opens a whole bunch more questions, which mostly is fine. That works really well on Lost up to a point, I think, and then it just got really, really tiresome.
Didn't have any idea what they were doing. Now, see,
just kind of figured out.
One of my the top cliffhanger choices was one where a few people.
Are we on Doctor Who? Or are we still on other programs?
Sorry, we're on Doctor Who. Said, it doesn't really, it gets resolved really quickly the week after. Well, I thought so. The cliffhanger.
I know what you're going to say right now, my friend.
The cliffhanger. Yes, it is. The cliffhanger is worth the price of admission alone, and that in itself, it's the cliffhanger. I'm less concerned about the resolution of it being,
because it's the Doctor, right? She's gonna get out of it somehow, and the story's got to move along, and blah 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 blah,
and let's be honest,
that kind of thing.
Did anyone really seriously think in a 6-episode series the Doctor was going to be out of the game
for an entire episode? Maybe in the original she would have been.
Maybe,
in the original concept she might have spent more time as a Weeping Angel. But because it was kind of truncated, wasn't it? It just cut to the chase. So just get to it. It's essentially it's a way of getting her from a place to another place. And the Angel's having a bit of psychological fun at her expense whilst doing it.
I thought it was great, but it didn't bother me that it was resolved quite quickly.
Transport
I'm just
her
also
as an
throw
angel.
in,
Yes.
From films, surely the Infinity War ending / cliffhanger.
That was good. Yes, we're talking Marvel now, right?
Yeah. Sorry, because you don't often get a cliffhanger in a film. I remember the Matrix Reloaded had a cliffhanger.
Did it?
Yeah.
Was it actually a cliffhanger, mate, or did it just kind of stop?
No, it did. It had,
which one was that? Was that the second film?
The second
that was
one.
The second one, wasn't it?
The ship gets blown up.
The one that I fell asleep in.
And so it's quite unusual to get a...
It's really flipping boring.
Oh, God.
Go on.
If you're a Matrix fan, I need you to tweet in. And,
no, don't get me wrong. I love The Matrix. The first film, brilliant. Absolutely groundbreaking, astonishing.
Let me put this
superb on every single level. The second one, the third one, I don't know. I can't even remember if I watched it or not.
Let me put this to you.
It was about some alien mechy type stuff, just doing the usual kind of alien mechy thing, isn't it?
Not really. So my question did you just not get it?
I did get it, mate. I understood it. This is me you're talking to, right?
Yeah.
I just thought it was a bit shite.
I really liked, what do they call it? The recent one.
Resurrections. Matrix Resurrections. It's recorded on my Skybox, and I'm trying to get the courage to spend the best part of 2 and a bit hours of my life sitting through it.
I think if you're a fan, it's made for you. It's not a film that a hater or casual audience member is going to watch and go, oh, that's really good, because it's very kind of intricate with stuff, and it gets quite sort of meta and self-referential and things, and it's very clever and it's very layered, and it was really good.
What Resurrections, is it?
Yeah.
I might give it a go if it tests my intellectual capacity. Then I certainly shall.
It's a shame that there'll be, probably won't be any more sequels, but as a sort of...
Mate, it's only so much you can flog a dead horse.
Well, that's true, but it did enough to sort of restart it all in a little bit.
It's like what you said a few podcasts ago, and you were saying, does the world need another Indiana Jones film? Do we need another Matrix film? Do something different?
What I was going to say is it works to act as a belated full stop to everything. So even if there's no more, actually it works as it is. And
so Terminator films, they just keep doing them, don't they? Every now and then they think, oh, it's a great idea. Yeah. Let's bring back Terminator. Yeah. Can we get Schwarzenegger? Well, we got him for about 5 minutes, and it's going to cost us $140 million. But no, we don't need Schwarzenegger and whatever. We don't need them. We don't need. We got a copyright on the property. Well, we can use this and we can use that, but we can't use pretty much everything that defines it as Terminator. Okay, well, we'll make some other shit up then. Okay, how long we got? Well, we got about 2 weeks. We literally got to get it all signed off. We've got to get the script signed off tonight. That's it. Well, just bring some shit in from all kinds of different places. Stick a Terminator label on it. Give it we can call it Terminator. Well, we've got to look into that, actually. The copyright isn't very clear, but anyway, sorry, I'm just messing. It's exactly like that in the halls of Hollywood, I'm telling you. That's exactly how it goes.
Not at the moment. At the moment, they're trying to...
Well, no, not at the moment. It's all a bit of a grind to a bit of a halt. Anyway, yes.
How yes.
People over? But you're right, yeah, there are some big cliffhangers, and I do like a good cliffhanger in a movie as well. If we know we're going to get a series of them. So you're going back to your Infinity War, that was astonishing, wasn't it? Because it was like the Avengers lost, like, oh no, the superheroes have lost, they never lose, but what's going to happen?
And I saw people online saying, of course it will all get resolved. Well, yes,
I told you, Geoff, never look at people online, never look at what they say.
The point is that, like you said, that they never lose. Yeah. They did a major film where the bad guy won, and people were literally gone. And how's it all going to come back into? How's it going to come back again? And it was not resolved within 5 minutes.
I look at Infinity War as the first act of, and it's like Endgame, isn't it? Really, it's like I just look at that as one continual movie.
And
with
it does
couple
work.
Of movies in, 3 movies in between, 2, 3.
Sorry, I can't remember. And it does work very well as its own film. You could watch that and be satisfied. So it's not part 1 and part 2. It's two separate films that link together.
As just as an aside here, dear listeners, if you ever care to check out our Marvel podcast, MCU C2C, Corner to Corner, see we did that? Yeah. You will find that we did 2 podcasts on Infinity War. Each one of those was about an hour and a half long, I think. And for Endgame, we did 3 podcasts. 3 that were about the same sort of length, weren't they? From an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So we did 3 podcasts just on Endgame alone that were longer than Endgame itself. But there was so much to talk about. We were just talking about it, and we thought, oh my God, look at the time. We're going to have to pack this up and get another episode out of it. Yeah. And we thought we'd do it in 2, but no, we had another one in there, so it's just ridiculous.
Our friend Cooper Hillier said, we talked about Endgame for longer than Endgame.
Yeah, I know. Was it Cooper who said that?
Yeah, it was Cooper. Yeah.
Dear. That was hilarious. But it's a great podcast. Check it out.
It was. Yeah, we might restart
MCU.
I've been rewatching. In the last couple of weeks, I've watched Eternals, Thor: Love and Thunder, Ant-Man: Quantumania again. So I'm.
I see. I'm yet to see Quantumania. I haven't seen it yet.
Well,
but it looks like fun.
The internet's review is inaccurate.
I don't read any reviews. Honestly, I kid you not. I read no reviews like until I've watched the film. I might pick up a whiff of something, because you generally pick up something as you go through Twitter and X and whatever. As you go through X, sounds a bit shit, doesn't it? As you go through X. What the hell is that? Seriously, Elon, what the fuck, mate?
I'm on my 5th hit of X today.
Yeah, I'm just looking through X. What's that, like a porn site or something? God, honestly, the guy's a nutter. Anyway, sorry. That aside, I forgot what we were talking about. What were we talking about? Cliffhangers. Right. Yes. So also, don't forget, you have the and this is where they all come from, isn't it? Is the old the old serials of the black and white days, the prehistorical. When we used to go around in caves and not have much to do through the day, so we just used to go down to cinema and watch Flash Gordon and Champion the Wonder Horse. And Buck Rogers and all that sort of stuff, because that's how they get bums on seats next time, isn't it? And I think a lot of times the writers had no idea what was going to happen the following week anyway. They just write this stuff, build it up, and that'll do, that's the cliffhanger, and then we've got to somehow resolve it for next week. I know, or at least I've heard, that this is how Terry Nation and can I remember his name? Was it Donald Cotton or Dennis Spooner wrote the Daleks master plan years and years and years ago? They literally did Dennis Spooner. They literally did 1 episode each almost. So really? Terry Nation write an episode. Dennis Spooner, who's the story editor, would write another episode. Or was it Donald? No, Dennis Spooner. Anyway, and they would. The legend goes that they would try to outdo each other in their cliffhangers. So it's like, go on, Dennis, get out of that one, will you? Hey, and Dennis would be like, oh, crikey, what's he done here? No, fuck you know. I don't know what I'll do. So he'd write something a little bit more witty that I'd get out of it, and he'd get to the end of it. Right, Terry, get the sin out of that one, lad. Hey, go on then, meddling monk. I bet you never saw that one coming, did you? You tarts. Go on then. Terry Nation had gone and said, who's meddling monk? I've no idea who that is. I don't know. Oh, he's Welsh, wasn't he? So I don't know who the meddling monk is. I've never seen it before. Is it a Dalek? It's not a Dalek, otherwise I'd have known about it. Somebody would have told me, and I'd have fleeced them for infringement of property or something, I would. So he'd be looking at that and he'd say, I can't get out of that, so I'll just invent something completely different, take it off on a tangent, which can also happen on a cliffhanger, can't it? It's like you don't actually resolve the cliffhanger, you come at it from a completely different angle, and it's there in the background and gone. Yeah. that can happen. It's a little bit of a cop out, you know what I mean? But it's good fun. I love cliffhangers, and I'm going back to the Flash Gordon stuff. I mean, that's what they used to rerun all the Flash Gordon serials on BBC Two in the 70s, and that's what I caught them. Loads of them. I used to love all those things. You know, I thought they were brilliant. I've actually got them all on DVD there somewhere.
Really?
Those things behind me. Yeah, the complete Flash Gordon serials, and I watched them probably a couple of years now. Yeah, just before the start of COVID. It was a great thing to watch during lockdown, but I watched them before lockdown because that's what I do. You know, a little bit maverick like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're great fun. I mean, they're really shonky, but it's such good fun. And of course, Doctor Who kind of builds into that tradition, doesn't it? Because it's 25-minute episodes ending on a cliffhanger. You know, stories are usually serialized. So we've got 4 episodes, 6, 7 or 8, or even 9 or 10 in the old days.
Yeah.
And you're right. And I think it is something that we've kind of. I don't think we've lost it, but it's become less important, I think, to the programme. I think, you know, it's whether that's a kind of commentary on TV consumption, the way we view TV now, is that we, you know, do we need... I don't know, maybe the programme make us think we don't need cliffhangers. Nobody's going to watch one thing after another, which I don't know if that's true because they've often been proved completely wrong with arc-driven stories like, you know, for Deep Space Nine, Star Trek and Babylon 5 and, you know, Game of Thrones even, you know, all these things brought people in and didn't necessarily rely on cliffhangers. But
I read that...
I don't know where I was going with that. I started going somewhere and then it just kind of petered out, didn't it? Sorry about that.
Because apparently
this happens a lot, new listeners. Yeah.
People will binge, 2 episodes or 3 of an evening or something, and then they'll watch
that's what I do.
First 10 minutes or something.
I don't do that.
One.
No, I'm good at not doing that, actually.
Well, that's apparently what a lot of the Netflix, data shows.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, isn't it? They tell us that stuff, and, you know, who are we to argue? Because they've got the data, right? And maybe they're right, but and maybe I'm just an old geezer, really, because I don't do that. I was watching... I was watching recently. It's really, really good. Fully endorsed this. Rabbit Hole with my man Kiefer.
Oh, yes.
Kiefer Sutherland.
That, yeah.
Oh, mate, it's brilliant. I'd seen it on Paramount and I sort of bookmarked it, put it on my list, you know, for a while back. And a couple of weeks ago, I started watching it. Mate, 1 episode in, and again, it ended on a cliffhanger. Every episode ended on a cliffhanger. And it was so tempting just to do what you said, play the next 5 minutes. But I've never done that, and I hope I will never fall because it still robs some of the, you know, I like the suspense, I like the weight. I mean, I kind of said to myself, if I'd had the day off after I'd watched those first 2 episodes and the night before, then I would have just binged the whole lot, and I really would have done but I didn't have the day off. I had to, you know, go out and earn a living and stuff, so I limited myself to 2 episodes a night over the course of 4 or 5 nights, whatever it was. I think it was 8 episodes of 4 nights. And honestly, one of the best things I've seen on TV for years and years and years. Love it.
I think if I did that, because I don't, you know, I'll finish an episode, and even if, you know, I won't then go like, oh, okay, I'll, you know, watch the next bit, you know, because then I think there's a danger that you might go, or certainly for me anyway, I'd be like, I won't bother watching that one now. I'll just, you know, and then I would just kind of lose. Do you know what I mean? I'd sort of lose interest in it a little bit because I'd seen it. But so apparently people watch the first sort of 8 to 10 minutes or something of the next episode, and then Netflix were trying to say that cliffhangers are not as important as they used to be because people
maybe they're right.
Well.
But on streaming platforms, yes, when you've got the whole series available, but then, you know, we watched it. It's down to a self-discipline, isn't it? You either want to watch it, but do you know what? The thing is, right, with TV these days, you can watch things how you want. You know, the thing about cliffhangers is, in a way, it's like the program makers and the broadcasters or distributors or cinema managers or whatever it is, they're the ones in control of things, right? They're in control of when you watch. So if Flash Gordon is on, episode 23 of Men from Mars is on Saturday morning at 9:30, 9:30, you're going to have a flock of people paying for tickets to watch it, right?
Yeah.
And chances are next week you're going to have exactly the same people, and you control that time, right?
Yeah.
And the same with terrestrial TV when it was just 3 channels or whatever it was, 3 or 4 channels, and everything was on, whatever night on it is, whatever night of
that's
the
what
week.
TV used to be like, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
but now it's not. It's changing, right?
Well,
but saying that, they are, Netflix and other streaming platforms, they are starting, they have been releasing series with an episode each week, haven't they? The last Stranger Things was...
Disney do it, and, which
I think Rabbit Hole was actually one a week as well, thinking about it, but I waited until... Yeah, and that's the thing, see, because I waited until it was all available, because I knew I wouldn't be able to wait a week. I wanted to binge it.
Yeah, but I do think that, watching, like... doing it weekly also gives you, means everyone is more or less on the same page with a show. And
that's a good thing, isn't it?
The conversations going on around the same thing in it, which I think is really good. So yeah, it's quite interesting, and the sort of purported death of the cliffhanger was a bit of a shame, really. But I'm not entirely sure that.
I don't think it's really died out.
No,
I think we've changed. Our response to the cliffhanger has changed. So what a cliffhanger needs to do has probably changed. Yeah. And maybe the story writers can look at that and perhaps use it to the advantage of the program in some way. I don't know. If you write a program where you anticipate somebody's going to watch the next 5 minutes of the next episode, you could maybe use that. I don't know how particularly. I'm not one of these genii who think of those things, but I have just thought of it. So if you do want to run it past me, get in contact. You know where we are. All right. But yeah, maybe that's the thing. Sorry, go on. Yes, let's talk about what we've got to talk about.
Yes, let's crack on with respective top 5 cliffhangers. Mm-hmm. So yours is more.
Oh, we're doing a top 5, mate. I've got 20,000.
Oh, okay.
Here, so.
Well, that's fine. So yours is more classic leaning, isn't it?
Yes. We could just do back and forth and see how we go. Let's do that.
Yeah. So you kick it off.
All right, I'm going to kick it off with the very first episode of Doctor Who, because why not? Unearthly Child, written by your man Anthony Coburn, who's an Aussie, right? He's Australian and had no idea what Doctor Who was, but he wrote the script, and there you go. So the first episode plays out, and it's all about weird Susan and Barbara Edding sort of crashing into the TARDIS, and and that whole last 10 minutes or so of the episode, because it's the episode starts in a very familiar place, right, in a school. So we all know school. We all got teenagers in school, and we've all been a teenager at school or are a teenager at school. And you know what? There's a teenager who listens to the music doing a wavy, funny hand thing, and the teachers are sort of remarking on how strange and unearthly some of her behaviours are. So we know that's weird. Then we go to the whole thing with the TARDIS, the police box in the junkyard, and that little play-off between the Doctor trying to outdo them, trying to outwit the guys into not going into, the box, which they suspect is being used as some kind of hideous kidnapper's torture cabinet for stray teenagers. So there's a slightly dark undertone there, but they glance through that rather quickly. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. What do you think is in there? And of course they go in, they find it's a spaceship, and they're all kind of dazzled by the lights and the disorientation of it being much bigger inside and all of that stuff, and then they're whisked off into time and space, and after all that, and it's really quite tense, the whole build up through that, and then suddenly we just get this shot, everything kind of whites out in the TARDIS, the noise reaches a crescendo, and then it's white out and it fizzles away, and we just get the hum of the engines just rising up, and everyone's kind of like a little bit sort of taken out, and then we cut to the long shot across tiny Line Crew studio, which is being dressed up like some kind of weird, we think, alien landscape. We don't know what it is at that point, but it all looks very bleak and very stormy. There's a wind whistling through, and we just got the TARDIS leaning at a slight angle on this hilltop. We know that was in a junkyard a minute ago. What's going on? What is now? And the anticipation, I wasn't there in 1963 when that first came out. I've obviously seen it retrospectively, but you cannot help as a viewer watching that for the first time, but wonder what is going to happen next. All you get to give you any idea is a long shadow of someone or something falling across the wasteland between something just behind the camera and the front of the police box, and you're like, what is that? Who is that? What's going to happen next? And it's, you know what, it's the most basic of cliffhangers. It's not particularly tense, it's not particularly dangerous or thrilling or anything. It's just the anticipation of what's going to happen. We know we've just been through a time and space machine jump somehow, right? And now we're going to get the adventure. What is it going to be? Cavemen. But you don't know that yet, right?
No.
It's brilliant.
And also,
brilliant.
With it being the the first episode, it's quite a maybe people didn't expect that at the time, and it's quite a it's quite a big thing. Like you said, suddenly you're in this it's moved, and it's different.
Yes.
And,
it's just a police box.
Yeah.
But we know it's not. We've been inside it now, but
and even though the actual cliffhanger it's just the shadow, isn't it? Coming in.
That's literally it.
It's not a big deal, but it's oh my god, that it's a double whammy, really. A bit like the Alias one I mentioned, because you've gone from the present day, and suddenly this thing's moved, and now it's somewhere else, and you don't know where or when or what or anything like that, and then the shadow appears, so someone is approaching, So yes, that's it is.
Do I get that one?
All off there. Yeah, you can have that. Yeah,
bang on.
So I'm going to start with I'm just going to go with The Magician's Apprentice.
Ooh.
So part 1 of the series 9 opener with the 12th Doctor and Clara, with the second part being The Witch's Familiar. So I won't kind of go in a big old recap of this, but
wait, just one sec. Is it raining where you are? Is that rain coming down behind you?
Yeah, can you hear it?
Yeah, I thought it was background noise for a minute, but it's rain.
No, that's why I just took my headphones off, because I thought, is this my fans going crazy here? And I can't hear it properly. But it's the rain. This morning it was supposed to be thunderstorm here.
Was that?
And then it's ended up boiling hot this afternoon, and now it's slashing it down. And you'll know I've lit myself today as well.
Well done, mate. That's rule 1 of filming yourself. Good lighting.
I vanished into darkness.
You know your little things on LinkedIn where you're offering people advice on how to do good recording.
Yeah.
I haven't seen your entry on lighting yet, but I'm waiting for it, because it's going to be a cracker, mate.
Yeah, maybe I could utilise some of that podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
So, Magician's Apprentice. Long story short, the Doctor is drawn onto a battlefield, and eventually, and there's a young boy trapped in the hand grenade thingies, and hand mines. That's it. And we realise eventually that it's Davros. When he's young.
A cliffhanger and a half.
Well, that's only the pre-titles, isn't it?
I know, exactly. Yeah, that's it. But that's it. It's like the new series does do that, doesn't it? It does have a mini cliffhanger.
A mini cliffhanger. Yeah, that's a good.
Because that would be the end of part 1 in the old series.
Yeah, pretty much it would have. And that's something I remember from years ago. I think there was complaints that the episodes were only 45 minutes, and the old series were an hour or hour and a half or whatever. And Russell T Davies said something like, well, most of the old episodes were 20 odd minutes, and so if you look at these episodes in a 3-act structure, you're sort of getting a very mini cliffhanger every 15 minutes, and which is how American TV is usually, which is why who went to and why Sky TV always fail to edit at the right moment. And,
you make it easy for them, and they still screw it up, right?
Yeah. But that's why
literally give you a cliffhanger every 5 minutes.
You've got.
Oh, right, that's interesting. Yeah, we'll make a note of that, Russell. Thanks, mate.
And ignore that
just,
by
just
30
cut
seconds.
It, whatever. Yeah.
So the Magician's Apprentice, and we get the Doctor and Missy and Clara all end up on Skaro, don't they? Which I think at that point in the timeline they thought was gone, destroyed. Davros,
no, to be honest.
It's a bit
it all got a little bit confusing, and still is. But yeah.
So it ends with Clara and the TARDIS kind of captured, doesn't it, by the Daleks? And Davros tells the Doctor that he's got no control over them, and they'll do what they want. And the Doctor is desperate for them not to hurt Clara, and begging them, and so she runs and gets exterminated, doesn't she? Which I remember thinking, oh my God!
Oh yeah,
like that's a pretty big. That's a shocker. Even though you knew that Jenna was in the rest of the series, or at least you think you do. But of course, it's that whole thing of, well, how does this get undone? How do they get out of this? What happens? And then the TARDIS is destroyed as well, isn't it? Do they zap it, or does it?
I can't remember now.
It's vaporised here, isn't it? Whereas
I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched that. Now you're describing something I don't clearly recall, Mr. Geoff.
And then in the Stolen Earth, they drop it into the centre of the planet or something, don't they? The Daleks, yeah. So you got this double hit again. Clara and then the TARDIS, and of course, like that's the companion gone. That's the Doctor's home and escape.
How will they get out of that?
Yeah, and of course they will. Yeah, but the fun of it is how.
By what trickery?
Yeah,
by what
and even
means?
if it's quick, it don't really matter. And I'm not going to reveal how it's resolved, partly because I can't remember.
Can't remember. Can you? Old git. Honestly.
But yeah, that was a good one. I'm basing a lot of mine on
memories.
Well, yeah, and how they made me feel.
Yeah.
So
do you know what? I think you've hit the nail on the head there, my friend. How they make you feel, because that is the thing. Especially when you're actually. Do you know what? I was going to say, especially when you're a young age, when you're a kid, and I think that is definitely the case. They can be really impressionable and stay with you. But actually, when you're an adult as well, something hits you the right way, you don't forget it.
I've said on here before that for me, it's not about how something is,
resolved.
Is it good or bad writing? It doesn't really matter if it touches you. You've
got to stay offline, Geoff. I'm telling you, stay away from those sites. Just do your own thing, man.
But that's all that it's about how I feel about it.
Yeah,
and,
quite right.
These may not always be the biggest of events, but. They get
it
me.
is totally about you, how you feel, and if you love it, because I mean, the angel cliffhanger. I mean, I did like it. I didn't really buy it because it was almost too fantastical in its way, because she's not going to turn into we said earlier, she's not going to be, but the sheer visual impact of it was tremendous. It was almost like, do you know what, we've got a good opportunity, we cannot resist doing this. And you're right, it's like it almost doesn't matter what happens next episode, we just have to do this. We've got the Doctor surrounded by a whole bunch of weeping angels. They're going to take us somewhere. We have to turn the Doctor into a weeping angel. It's just going to happen. Just make it happen. Just do it. And what a great visual it is. It's one of those. It's one of those lingering moments. And that's the thing about a cliffhanger. Yes, it can be really suspenseful. It can be massively story driven. It can be in many ways inevitable, like the cliffhangers in the Caves of Androzani, for example. Each one of those at the end of every episode is just astonishing, and it completely throws you. So and they're almost terminal. Everything in the story is driving towards each one of those, and you're like, just what happens next? It's not so much how they get out of it, it's what happens next. I'm invested in the story, and it's reaching crescendo. I need to travel with it. Or it can just be, do you know what, the sheer visual of it. It can be the horror aspect. I've got down here the end of City of Death Part 1, which I've said on a podcast previously, when Count Scaroth rips his face off to reveal the spaghetti one-eyed ping pong ball mess, which freaked me out when I was a kid. And yes, as an adult watching that, I would probably laugh at it, but as a kid I totally bought into the reality of it, and the reality of some dude ripping his face off to reveal this hideous alien squirmy thing underneath freaks me out. for life, you know. And again, they knew that in those days, didn't they? And they played on it. Robert Holmes was the master of the grisly cliffhanger. You know, what was his thing? You know, with his pipe, scare the buggers, scare them senseless, wah, 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 wah. Puff puff, you know, scare the buggers. And then of course he got into trouble for it, but nonetheless, you know, for those things are memories, and they're an indelible part of Doctor Who, and it's what makes us watch it. It's what makes us fall in love with the show.
Well, also the cliffhanger, you know, part of its purpose is to get you to go back next week. So you know you need this, you know, this big thing, this shocking moment, or you know, whatever it might be. So you go, oh, you know, I'm going to come back next week, even if then, you know, the resolution is, you know, not as much. It doesn't matter.
Again, when you look at some of the Flash Gordon stuff, mate, the resolutions for those are shocking. Some of them.
Really?
Well, yeah, because what they quite often used to do is not so much re-show the same footage. They'd reprise the event, shoot it from a different angle, and in that angle, you would see, like, you know, Flash Gordon, for example, is locked in something that's filling up with acid or foam or gaseous mixture or water or something. And when they shoot it from next week's angle, Dale Arden's got a key in a bikini, so she go, "But Flash, I have a key," and let him out, and that's it. You know, something like that. So they did used to do so. I'm not sure that actually wasn't, but that's just an example of an illustration, if you like, of some of those things. And you can't deny. I'm just going to be devil's advocate with you here just for a second, because I think it is worth addressing. Is that, you know, the quality of a cliffhanger? It doesn't necessarily depend on it, but it can be affected by the power of its resolution or the cleverness of its resolution. You know, you can literally just wave a hand of God and have some magic thing happen that just gets them out of that situation, which is the worst possible kind of resolution, in my opinion. That's not what happens at the village of in the Village of Angels and the one after it. You know, that it really isn't that. You know, it's just we don't understand the story at that point. The following episode, we do understand the story. She's being transported, and the angels are having a bit of a laugh, and they're going to take her out. That's it. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually quite a witty, quite clever solution, I think. You know, it might downplay the suspense of it slightly, but you know what? It just gets us right into the next story. So there's no problem with that. But when you do suddenly have a magic key that unlocks that trapdoor, or which provides a platform for when you fall off the cliff in your Wonder Horse, or something, right? Some magic wave of a wand or sonic screwdriver that gets you out of said situation, then yes, it is a letdown. But actually, it doesn't really affect what happened the week previous. No. A good example would be the end of Stolen Earth, right? Yep. And how
this is
awesome
one of mine.
was.
This was
sorry, mate.
No, it's fine. Go on. You know, talk about it. This was going to be one of mine because
how awesome is that cliffhanger? I thought the resolution, the following week was actually awful. You know, the Doctor regenerates but doesn't regenerate, shoves it all into his hand and everything else, and creates a new meta. I hated all that stuff. I thought it sucked, but it doesn't take away the power of that initial cliffhanger at the at the time, and the fact that me and my mate were just literally, what's happening?
Yeah. Well, I remember,
in our adult years, talking like kids in the playground. What's that all about?
When it happened, I remember. It was kind of, you know, the internet was around and stuff, but it really wasn't what it is now. And you know, people were like, "Is that it? Is Tennant gone?" Like nobody.
Yeah,
knew.
that's what my mate was saying.
There was no kind of, you know, no rumours or anything like that. You know, and it really did feel for a short while like that could be it. Like, what's going to happen next week? You know, and that's quite, you know, amazing.
It was quite good, wasn't it? It's quite powerful.
You know, it's hard. We've talked about our you know, view on secrets and stuff on here before, but it's quite hard these days to you know, keep to
pull
shockers that off of that level. You know, so it was a cracking cliffhanger, that one, and you know, whether you like the you know, the resolution or not. You know, it's the build up to it is worth it, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely right. And of course, there are those who love that resolution. They love that whole meta-crisis Doctor thing. And you know, I've come to kind of deal with it over the years because it is what it is. It's out there, and it's that. So you know, it's part of the fabric of Doctor Who now, and for better or worse. And there are going to be some things I don't like, but there's going to be a lot more stuff that I do like. You know, and for a lot of people, and my daughter included. I mean, Freya was literally. she was up and down on. I've never seen her so animated as when
Really?
that story played out. She was punched every minute when Sarah Jane came in, when Luke came in, when she didn't really know the Torchwood guys, but she knew of them, and it was just brilliant. And everyone's kind of around the TARDIS, all doing their thing. She absolutely loved that moment. And we were watching. There was something I can't remember. There was a bit with a Dalek in it. And Rose had come in, and she just said to me, she goes, I love this. She goes, I love it when they do this. Build on the suspense, the plunger of a Dalek, and it's just waiting for that reveal. So it's got its moments.
Yeah, I mean, it is a real fan pleasing kind of two-parter and a good kind of.
It's a bit self-indulgent. But why not?
Well, it's very referential to its own era. But they've all had that really. A little bit.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Karen, of Amy coming back and stuff like that. So it kind of doesn't bother me too much. What do I think of the Meta Crisis Doctor? I don't think Forbidden Planet needed to make a T-shirt of him. I'll say that much.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, we got two. We don't need a third one that looks like him.
Well, we got three doctors that look suspiciously a lot like David Tennant.
Yeah,
right? Or four actually. Because we've got the 10th Doctor. Then we've got actually the 11th Doctor, because he did actually regenerate, right, according to the 11th Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
So they were, he regenerated into himself and then create the Meta Crisis non-Doctor, non-Time Lord Doctor. And now the 14th Doctor looks suspiciously like David Tennant. So the Doctor clearly does love that face. Yeah. No question about it.
I'm not going to say what I was going to say. And I think the Meta Crisis Doctor was.
It could be. They could update this with 4 David Tennants, basically, right? I've just got my notes of my cliffhangers. That's all it is. Don't worry. Just to remind myself.
I think the Meta Crisis Doctor was an attempt to give Rose, those shippers, Rose and the Doctor.
Awful though. You think about that. Right, and you know what? Yeah, you really fancy me, and you love me, and it's great. We've had a good time together. I can't do that lifestyle. It's not me. But here's someone who looks exactly like me.
Yeah.
Go and have a great time, kids. Yeah. Fantastic. Enjoy your best life. I'm off. See you later.
Yeah.
Jeez. How awful is that?
No, it was awful, and it
honestly
sort of reminds me a little bit.
Oh my goodness! I just delete that from my head.
Back in Buffy and Angel, when there was Bangle, which is Buffy and Angel, and Spuffy, which was Spike and Buffy.
See, I'm too old for that stuff, mate. I just completely.
Well, this was a long time ago, in fairness, but people were
90s.
Some people wanted
early
her
2000s.
and Angel, some people her and Spike. So the show kind of tried to kind of appease both sides, and they had a pretty good episode where Spike and Angel had to fight for effectively worthiness or something, and it was pretty, they really went at each other. It was pretty good, and I can't really remember. She didn't really end up with either of them at the end.
Are we talking about Doctor Who now? We're talking about Buffy.
Buffy, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I'm going to bring up.
Yes, go on. Give us another one.
Village of the Angels. I've talked about. I didn't. Well, no. We did briefly mention it, didn't we? For me, Village of the Angels is my ultimate cliffhanger. Well, if you haven't, go back and listen to our podcast where we review
you were
the
quite
episode.
excited, weren't you?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, and I just thought it was just what an image, what a shocker! Like, yes, of course, in the back of my head, I know it's going to get resolved, but oh my God, the Doctor's turned into a weeping angel. What what's going to happen here? Just amazing. So, Magician's Apprentice, Stolen Earth. I'm going to go with the Time of Angels as well. With Matt.
Yes, my favourite, one of my favourite Matt Smiths, if not my ultimate favourite.
Of Flesh and what's the second one? Flesh and Stone.
Flesh and Stone.
Yeah, it's what's superb where they end up effectively trapped in caves, don't they? With the weeping angels.
Flesh and Stone the first one actually.
Is it? Oh, better check that, because maybe I've gone the wrong way round. I looked up 11th Doctor Series 5. Let's go episodes. Time of Angels. Yes.
Episode 4.
Yeah, Time of Angels, yeah. So that's when they get trapped in the caves, and you've also got the Cherubi Angels as well, haven't you? And they end up trapped.
Yeah, you're right.
And the Doctor's he gives a really good mini speech about there's one thing you should never put the Doctor in. A trap. Then he fires that pistol thing, and then Graham Norton pops up and goes, "Coming up next is Strictly Come Dancing," or whatever it was.
Did Graham Norton do that?
Was it at that point or some point in the episode? He's done it twice. He's hijacked Doctor Who.
First on the very first transmission of Rose in the UK, Graham he did.
Norton, Doctor Who interrupts,
and he did it in Time of Angels as well, did he?
Yes,
I don't remember that actually, but.
Hang on, Graham Norton's voice suddenly boomed into the Hendrix basement, caused by an accidental mixing of the sound from Strictly Dance Fever. And then, in the closing moments of Time of the Angel, the Doctor points a gun in the air and issues a stern and passionate warning to his enemies. Audiences were on the edge of their seats, but it's possible their immersion was broken by the sudden appearance of a dancing Graham Norton cartoon, reminding viewers that his show was coming up next.
Do you know what? That's something I really, really dislike about a lot of modern TV. It doesn't seem to be quite as bad now, but on certain channels it is, where they want you to keep watching, and they'll play in a little inset in the top corner about a little preview of what's coming up in the next program, or they'll just give you like the whole thing. It's just really, really annoying.
I used to notice it on TV in America actually, and it was done more there before over here. But you'd get. I remember watching, I don't know, whatever it was at my friend's house, and then what's her name? Jamie Alexander, who plays Sif. She popped up for an advert for Blind Spot, which was a pretty good show. And like she turns up at the bottom of the screen, she turns around, she's like this, and then the bar comes up, Blind Spot coming up next, and it's quite. It's quite a big thing.
Yeah, but I'm watching this program here.
Exactly.
Let me finish watching this program, and then I'll make a choice to watch that one or not. And it's really, really annoying.
They do it on kids' TV as well.
Hate it. Yeah, and this is another thing about cliffhangers. Oh yes, you're right. Actually, yeah. Next episode of Peppa Pig, coming up.
An episode will start, and then it will say in 15 minutes so and so, in 30 minutes so and so.
Oh, when it starts. Think, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Let me get this one first.
Can't we just focus on a show at a time?
Yeah, exactly. And they wonder why people have got short attention spans, because actually they're making us that way with your frequent transmissions of overlapping nonsense. But here's another thing about cliffhangers, which
it ended up so hot today.
Jeff's got more to say here.
I couldn't, but now it's raining. And what's going on with the weather? Sorry, what are we talking about? I've my attention span.
I don't know. I don't remember talking about the weather. I see what you did there. That was good, mate. Anyway. It just brings us on to another little rant about modern day cliffhangers and why they don't always work, and this has affected Doctor Who. So they'll play the cliffhanger, and they'll play a little snippet, a little trailer for the next episode. What's the point of that, people? What is the point? What is the point of leaving your audience on suspense only to show them the Doctor happily bounding through the corridors next week and, the companions doing their thing and yet more thrills and spills? And we know the Doctor's not really in danger, but come on. I know there's a few times where they've withheld the next time trailer, haven't they?
Yes,
I can't remember exactly which shows have done it, but a few have. And please do it more. Right, because you destroy the whole point of a cliffhanger. I don't care if the managing director of BBC One or the chairman or the frickin' Prime Minister comes down and says, now look, the standards at the BBC are that we need to play the next time trailer for every single episode of all of our TV output. I don't care. Don't do it. Go up to him and say, oi, Mr. Chairman, I respect your opinion, but frankly, mate, you're wrong, right? And if you're going to take that line of attitude with me, Sunshine, I'm going to put you in between two slices of bread, stick you in my lunchbox, and eat you for my lunch next time. All right? How's that for a next time trailer, you donkey?
If this person
with salad
called Jill,
Yeah.
You could have a Jill sandwich, which is a nice Resident Evil reference for anyone who likes Resident Evil.
Wait, it's some weed blowing across my desk here. No, I'm being unfair. I like Resident Evil. It's good stuff.
It's quite a famous line.
Yeah.
You were nearly a Jill sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say?
That's just taking the whole sting out of this podcast now.
Yeah.
How long we got?
Yeah, I do. I think the a cliffhanger, as I was saying, its point is to get you to watch. Next week.
Leave you in suspense.
Yeah.
Begging for more.
And I think we should be able to, or the channels should trust that the audience will come back.
Trust your audience.
Rather than spoon feeding them another. Or by the way, it will work out, but we won't tell you how, but it will happen.
Because or maybe it's a thing of directing your program output content / property, whatever, right, at the lowest common denominator.
Coming up next on BBC One, a new piece of content for the makers of a piece of content called Doctor Who.
Can you imagine that?
Can I? This piece of media. It's called a TV show.
Yeah,
the IP in this piece of media is under threat.
It's getting that way, mate.
Stop it.
I remember
when things were called characters and programs.
I think it might have been J.J. Abrams, but
I went to the
corrected. Shut up! We've done that already.
Motion piece of content house to watch the latest piece of content.
Well, that was worth it, wasn't it?
Sorry. I really don't like, as you can tell, the phrase piece of content. Right. And I'll tell you what, because I feel that it trivialises the thing.
Well, it does, exactly. That's where I'm going, is because that's all you're thinking of when you're doing all this rubbish, right? You're just thinking of your program, the labour of love of all the creatives that went into producing this thing, and they've done it, they've polished it, they've honed it, they've got it out on time, and they're proud of what they've done. All the actors, all the crew, everybody who had a hand in this thing sees it go out there as nothing more than a piece of content, to be kind of bastardised by the bloody broadcasters. We're going to put a flash up here for the next episode. We're going to put something down there for that. We're going to have a little ticker tape running across the bottom telling you what's coming up on the news next or something, and then we're going to have a voiceover. We'll actually take your program, reduce it to a tiny little square over here, so actually you can't even read the credits of everybody who made this thing, and give you a great big screen showing you Strictly Come Dancing or something,
and
it's not on.
It's not just for them to bastardise it. It's for people to consume it as
well. It, yes. We consume our content. But do you know what? But here's the thing. The point I was getting at, Geoff, right? You tell me this, right? Is it a case of program makers or the broadcasters deciding that, this stuff, in order to reach the biggest saturation of audience share, or the biggest audience share, it's got to be aimed at the lowest common denominator. So, in other words, you pick your audience member as the stupidest, dumbest, most content-hungry person who literally has, a shell of a life, travelling from or living vicariously through one reality show or one hospital drama or whatever, soap opera or TV sci-fi series after another. Is that who you're aiming it at? Is that your core audience? Well, possibly. It might just get numbers, but what's the quality of those numbers?
Yeah. Well, there's an old adage, is that how you say it? Adage?
Adage. It's an old adage. Old wives saying.
You have to treat the audience like they're stupid and hit them over the head with information. And whilst I don't entirely agree with that, I do think that you can't you can't make things deliberately kind of hard to work out or see visually on screen. Some people, you could argue that Christopher Nolan can get away with that because that's become expected of his stuff and things like that. And I'm not also saying that you need to kind of bring things down to the lowest common denominator and intellect, because that's not the case at all. But I do think that
there's a danger of it happening, though.
There is a danger, and they are. You're right. just spamming stuff out there in an effort for something will hit and hopefully it'll work and then we'll renew it for another series and merch it and blah blah blah. But I think that there is so much out there these days, and we've talked about this before with TV ratings and stuff, because when we were nippers there was 4 and then 5 channels. That was
3
it.
channels.
Well,
Sorry, 4, yeah.
When you were nipper.
And only just started BBC Two in my day.
Yeah.
I think they had, actually. I think BBC Two was the year I was born, the year after. I don't
know when it started.
Anyway, go on. Yeah.
Sky came and stuff, but look at it now, like all the streaming channels, all the stuff on Sky, all the other things, Freevee that people use, or Now TV or whatever, games, the internet, all of this stuff, all of it demanding our attention, and the numbers of people, of course, grows, but the channels to consume your content from is growing all the time. So a program at 7 o'clock on a Saturday on BBC One is in no way going to get the figures that it did pushing 20 years ago, because people are gaming, they're YouTube.
Well, you can watch it on iPlayer literally as soon as it starts,
it's not like
in your own time.
And I think that there is just so much stuff out there that it is really quite often now. It's just content. I mean, look at. So
here's the thing. Well, hold on. Here's the thing. Go on.
I forget. Look at the Willow show on Disney.
Yeah.
They spent nearly $200 million on it. It came out, nobody really watched it, and now they're pulling it.
People did watch it. That's the point.
Yeah,
there were a lot of people who did watch it, but
they did. But
it didn't get the big figures. It wasn't mass market enough, right?
No, it wasn't. But then you also kind of.
It's a genre show.
Yeah, you're making a genre show that's a sequel to something that is 30 years old. It's not going to get millions and millions like Game of Thrones, but very little gets millions and millions like that, and they're pulling it for effectively financial reasons, which I think, well, it's not. I
suspect there's a darker reason for them pulling it than that, perhaps.
Maybe, but it just it's just throwing money at stuff, and and then it doesn't work, so they're just yanking it and they'll just move on, to something else, and. There's just so much stuff these days. It's insane.
There is. So here's the thing, right? Because this is the point. Is it a case that actually, instead of making things appeal to more people by aiming at the lowest common denominator, because if that's what everybody's doing, how do you then differentiate? Because all you're doing then is you're just creating a whole sea of noise, which any show is going to struggle to reach above and actually get heard. And because streaming platforms don't have the kind of viewerships that the kind of the more traditional broadcasters have.
Well, I'll interrupt you there. Do they? Or
Careful.
Don't they?
I don't know. They don't seem to. Disney Plus doesn't have massive numbers, right? When they report audience share and viewerships and figures,
I think
they're quite low. They're a few million as opposed to tens of millions, right? If a show is watched in the US on CBS or whatever networks it is, right? Usually it's tens and tens of millions.
Yes, it is,
right? Because there's that many people watching stuff on Disney Plus. It's what, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 million. 12 million.
The point on there is that.
But hold on, wait, because you got to let me finish now, because otherwise I'll forget this, right? So the point is, right, how do you differentiate between this sea of noise, right? Is it actually that you make your program brilliant, right? And you look at how successful some of the best series have been, right, over years, and I think it kind of started in a way with Sopranos, right? And that was on HBO, right? So people had to pay to watch. And if you're paying to watch something, right, you have to give them something of equal value at the very least, or something that exceeds their value. And that, I think, kind of changed the mindset a bit. And The Sopranos set the benchmark for a whole bunch of stuff which followed it, right? Game of Thrones, which you mentioned, right? Yeah. Again, just raised expectations, because suddenly here's a fantasy show, it's a genre show, but it's made to an astonishingly high level, right? The writing is superb, the direction and production, everything is just absolutely right at the top, and it keeps getting higher and higher each one. It sets a new benchmark. So And you look at the Marvel stuff as well, the Star Wars stuff, a lot of it, right? It is all now being produced at that level. Even Doctor Who knows it has to be at that level, right? And set its own benchmark. And it is, even though it's not even on a paid-for subscription channel, at least not over here anyway. I think it probably is in the rest of the world. But, it's got to compete at that level now. It cannot be the kind of mass market fodder that, it can't be the stuff that is aimed at the lowest common denominator. I think the producers need to make a decision here, like they always do. Are we making something that is intelligent, that is credible, that has a high production value, or are we making something cheap and nasty for the masses? The good thing about Doctor Who actually is that it can be both those things. So it's a really, really strong property, because you can have, like we were saying, right? You can have stuff that is, like self-indulgent and whimsical and fantasy and a little bit pantomime, and you can have the really hardcore, heavy, intelligent, high concept-driven sci-fi or fantasy, that we see in other shows. So, for Doctor Who not to be able to take that on, regardless, to be honest, of whether it gets the viewing figures, it's got to be a pinnacle of the benchmark. And I think if you start taking away things that give it strength, right, then you start diluting what it is. And one of the things that has always given it strength and contributed massively to its enduring appeal is its cliffhanger. Yeah. See where I'm going with that? So you start mucking around with the whole cliffhanger thing by interrupting the immersion, by showing people actually this is what happens next week in a kind of condensed trailer form. You're diluting it. You're destroying it. You're actually bringing it back down into that sea of noise, that pulp of mass market content. That it's actually trying to raise itself above and be noticed from, because it's good enough to be at that level, and the TV landscape right now needs that kind of quality to differentiate. So there you go. That's my 2 pence worth. I've managed to keep it on topic by relating it to cliffhangers, but it's something I feel very strongly about, Mr. Geoff, and indeed I believe you do as well, as was evidenced there.
I think that the figures reported for Disney Plus shows and stuff, it's like 2-3 million. The service has 90 million subscribers. I find it bizarre that the figures there are 2 million on WandaVision or whatever. But that point is that if WandaVision is getting 2 million figures globally, or just in the States or whatever, and we're saying, or people are saying that Doctor Who's viewing figures these days are small, well, they're clearly not. But
no,
also,
exactly.
They're
clearly not.
They're clearly not. But the other side of that thing is, out of 90 million subscribers, the show's only getting 2 million. That sounds like bullshit to me. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out of things with the strikes.
Say that. What's how many shows are you dividing amongst that 90 million? I mean, like you said, there's masses and masses that you can dip into at any time you want to.
That is true, but also the way they report everything is, 8 billion minutes of this show watched. Well, what does that mean? How many people actually watched it? Because you could say, as very basic maths, this show had 600 minutes watched or something, and you go, well, the show's an hour long, so that means maybe 10 people watched it in full, or could that just mean 20 people watched the first 10 minutes? Do you know what I mean?
Paint the full picture, does you need to dive a little bit more detail. And actually, what's the point? Are people enjoying it?
Well, that is the main thing, but of course...
Well, the BBC used to collect audience appreciation figures, didn't they? Where they would, on the one hand, just gain the raw numbers, but they'd look at trying to gauge how much of a percentage of those people who watched it...
Because that's important as well.
Enjoyed it. It's massively important.
Because, something may only have...
Because it could save a show from cancellation. You get something relatively low, but if near to 100% people who watched it loved it, then is it something worth continuing with?
They still do the AI here, and in the States, I don't know whether they do it on TV. I guess they do, but with cinema, it's the cinema score, and they poll people exiting a film and get their ranking and stuff. But I think it's probably quite clear that streaming figures are obscured and fudged to hide the true figures for financial reasons.
Very possibly. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
anyway,
I think
give me
I don't know.
cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's going to say, yeah, so otherwise we'll start talking about all kinds of weird things now then. Right, okay, another cliffhanger. I'm going to shoot forward a bit. I was going to mention, and I will mention it because why not? I was going to do a cheeky little mention to at the end of episode 1 of the Daleks. Was it the Dead Planet, when we first see the plunger poking out towards a terrified Barbara? Yeah. You know, it's the basic thing is literally a bloke. Was it? You know, he's got a fag in one mouth, just pointing this thing. You know,
and she's having to.
Do you get the shot, Nige? Yeah, I've got the shot, Doug. Yeah, can I stop doing this fucking plunger now? Yeah, can it out? All right. Cheers, Jack. You love. That's it. That's a wrap. Done.
Yeah, that's it. You're done for the day. Yeah.
You're watching it, going, what is that thing with the sink plunger? You know, it's great, isn't it? You know, to use that. And the thing about the Daleks as well is, again, it's the whole build-up. You know, and the music it's weird music. I don't know if you ever watched that serial recently, but it's almost like it's Tristan and Carey doing the incidental music, and it was always like weird Twin Peaks kind of backwards sounding devilish music. It's very unsettling, very unnerving. But do you know, I'm gonna give a good shout out to, and I have to mention this in the story of Cliffhangers, because one that got me as a child when I was just becoming a fan of Doctor Who was episode 1 of Earthshock. Which was just astonishingly good. I mean, mate, honestly, just no idea that the Cybermen were going to be. I'd never even really seen a Doctor Who story with the Cybermen. They were a thing of legend. I'd read the Target novels, Revenge of the Cybermen, and the 10th Planet, and a few others. Maybe the Weird. No, I don't think I'd read the Wheel in Space. It wasn't out till much later. An Invasion wasn't out till much later. So there was a whole kind of mystery thing about the Cybermen, these legendary figures of steel giants and cybernetic replacements and stuff. And I think the legend had become bigger than what they actually were. And it took me a few seconds to think, is that a Cyberman? Because they looked quite different, but the same but different. You know, they also had a redesign, and the handles weren't quite so prominent as they had been on all the pictures that I'd seen of them. But it was just magical because it was so good. I mean, that you know, I mean, it's a great story, and again, it's one of those where the relentlessness, the story kind of builds, the fear, the suspense. You know, the androids in the caves picking off this squad of people, reducing them to a slushy mush of green goo on the floor with their name badges just floating on the top of it. It's really grim and nasty. And then at the end of it, we get that reveal of the Cyberman. It was like, wow. Oh, I just love this. This is my thing now. This is what I'm going to be a fan of for the rest of my life. I think it literally was at that moment that I decided I was really just a total soul. Yeah, I mean, like I said to you, I'd read the Target novels and I enjoyed them. You know, I was kind of invested in the history of the show to a degree, but rarely watched the actual programme until season 18-ish. And then, so season 19, Peter Davison's first one, was the first one I kind of watched continuously and made an effort to watch every episode. And you know, they were okay. I wasn't a big fan of Black Orchid. I thought, what have I got myself into here? Wasn't really massive on The Visitation either. I sort of liked it, but I didn't like it. And then, but when Earthshock came in, I thought, wow, this is more my cup of tea now. If it's going to be like this now from forever, then I'm sold. And then you get Time Flight, but nonetheless, that's the thing, isn't it? That's part of Doctor Who, and you know, the way it swings roundabouts. And once you understand that all of that is Doctor Who, not just the bits you like, all of it. And you know, there are going to be people who love the Time Flight as much as you love the Earthshock. And I'm always astonished when people online nowadays say, "Oh, I don't like Earthshock or Caves of Androzani. Don't understand what the fuss is all about." I'm like, "What are you, crazy? What is wrong with you?" But, you know, I've got to understand that is the way it is. Not everything is for everybody. So it's great. I love that, you know, when we can have those discussions and they're very positive and, you know, then it's great. When they're not so positive, it's not so great. But, you know, I choose my online friends.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're one of them, mate.
Yes. Well, you know, I was thinking earlier about how, you know, you meet people online and, you know,
we met online, did we not? On a Doctor Who little thing.
It's turned into something special.
It's turned into a podcast. Dun, 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 dun. So yes, there we go. That's my little shout out to Earthshock, which is a good one.
I think I'm going to go over to
let's
favoured cliffhangers from people on the Twitter. On the X sphere, and then you could give us some.
Yes, I've got a few here.
Facebook sphere. So Robot of Death, who's at Graham Ward 68, says all of the cliffhangers from Androzani are superb.
Yes.
Even the final
Thank you,
episode.
Graham. You are my number one friend. Sorry, Geoff, you're relegated.
Modern series-wise, the one I enjoyed most was Utopia. I hadn't heard any rumours and I didn't see it coming.
Yes,
that is a good one. And one of my things I said to Paul before we started recording was I was trying not to be kind of going for the obvious big cliffhangers on stuff, here. So Utopia is a cracker, and Graham's right there. The secrecy on it is what gives it its extra shock. I think that there was just no idea on that. Jason Marshall at Jason M25870 says Hand of Fear Part 3, where Eldrad goes through the door first, gets harpooned and then turns, is pretty good. Thomas Hines, who's at Thomas H90175738, probably Spyfall Part 1. I remember on broadcast there was a cliffhanger of that story. I was in shock when Sash said he was the master. Yeah, that was pretty. That was
I
a
enjoyed
great one
that
as
one.
well. Jenny Rich at Bunyip7, episode 1 of Remembrance of the Daleks. I didn't know how the Doctor was going to survive. And you know they will, but how? That's
how?
The thing.
How are they going to get out of that one? I just don't know. Tune in next week, find out.
Yeah,
kids.
And this one here actually is on a similar vein. The stylish one, who is at Doctor Who Style, says the War Games Part 9 has genuinely high stakes that you are unsure if the characters will get out of.
I did have a War Games one listed actually on my notes.
You
I've written a bunch of notes there. Yeah.
I'll just run through a couple more here quickly.
Go on. Yeah.
Ken Holtzhauser, who's at Dr. Von Wer, says the Who Am I cliffhanger from The Face of Evil. And Ken also shared one of his fantastic...
The Mad AI, yes. Alan.
He's done one of his drawings there of the Fourth Doctor. His work's excellent. Jason, Doctor Who novels, says Seeds of Doom 3, Gunfighters 1, Ambassadors 2, Enlightenment 1, sounds like football. Power of the Daleks 2, Logopolis 3.
Power of the Daleks 2, Logopolis 3.
Yeah.
Yes, it does, actually. No, they're all good ones. Enlightenment's a good one, because that is where, as far as we're concerned, we're on an Edwardian sailing ship with some slightly weird, but not too weird stuff going on, and then they all kind of run outside, and we are greeted not with the endless vista of the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic or even the Antarctic. No, it's the empty blackness of space. Which was totally unexpected, and we get the Eternals kind of messing around with humans doing their thing. So, that was a good one. What did he say? Logopolis Part 3 as well? I can't remember offhand exactly what that was. Is that when the TARDIS shrinks? No, or is that... No, it's when the entropy is really starting to kick in, and the Master is told... What have you done, as the monitor starts to crisp and crumble away? And for some... Yeah, he's right, because this is the only time I remember watching Doctor Who genuinely feeling like the actual universe itself is actually in proper danger. Oh, because up until that, it's usually, I will destroy the universe! Ha 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 ha! Like the Underwater Menace Part 2, nothing in the world can stop me now, or is that Part 3? I can't remember. It's I've written it down somewhere, but whatever. Anyway, but yes, Logopolis Part 3, it's a good one, Jason. I totally 100% agree with that. And I remember watching it the first time thinking, oh my god, the Master has actually literally destroyed the actual universe. The entropy's creeping in because it's sold. It's sold as science fact. That's the thing. The science... One foot in actual real science, one big fat foot in made up science, but the two combine seamlessly, and it adds to the story, it raises the stakes, and suddenly everything is in absolute danger, and we start to see it happening. We're not just told it's happening, we see it happening to somebody right in front of the Doctor's eyes. Brilliant cliffhanger. Love it. Yes. Sorry, I was on a rant there.
Darren Lodge, who's at Darren Lodge, he says Genesis of the Daleks episode 2 and the cliffhanger to episode 1 of I guess it must be, he doesn't specify, but he also says the cliffhanger of episode 1 of the Daleks, that scream from Barbara.
Yes. With Doug. Come, burn it.
Steve Clamp, who's at Steve Clamp ITV, says Remembrance of the Daleks episode 1, Dalek climbs the stairs after the Doctor I couldn't breathe I couldn't breathe for excitement, he said. God, there's loads here. Let me just run through a couple more, and then you can do some Facebook. Space, who's at 13th doc _. It has to be the gift that you shared, which was the Village of the Angels one. The Doctor becoming a weeping angel was such a WTF moment, and the fact that her costume was a perfect design for it, the whole thing left you in shock, waiting. Long Scarf Publications at long _scarf says the best has to be 10th Planet 4. Within the episode, I'm going for the Massacre 3, City of Death 2, Caves of Androzani 3, and probably lots of others I can't think of at the moment. Very fond of Ambassadors of Death 2. I
can't remember that one offhand. I have to think about it, but Ambassadors of Death is full of great cliffhangers, if I recall. I love that story. Another one I'd add to season 7 actually is Inferno episode 6. This is when the Doctor is in an alternate Earth, and the Inferno project there, which is a project to drill down into the Earth's crust, which the Doctor's been warning people about. It's a very bad thing to do. It's going to disintegrate the planet and everything. He goes into an alternative Earth, plays a couple of episodes out there, and this one ends with the actual destruction of Earth, and the Doctor barely escapes back into his control room, console TARDIS thing, and back to normal Earth. It's brilliant. I remember reading the novel of that actually long before I saw the series, feeling that this is a cliffhanger. It's brilliant. They actually destroyed the Earth. They keep threatening to do it in every Doctor Who story, but here it actually happens. And again, the Doctor sees it. Brilliant. And a lot of season 7 cliffhangers are pretty good like that. We've got a few on Facebook on our page. We have let's have a look who we got here. So we got Lacey Taylor, who says when Ace turned round and we saw her glowing yellow eyes in episode 2 of Survival. Yes, that's true. That was a good one as well, actually. We know something's going on with Ace, but what is it? What could it be? She's turning into an alien. An alien cat. Or is there more to it? Of course, there's much more to it, but that's a good one. We got Christel Holmes, who says the Doctor turning into an angel. So that's obviously a popular one, isn't it? We've had quite a few people agree with you on that one. We put a post on the Doctor Who page, Doctor Who Infinity, which is brilliant. And some people have come back on that one. Let's have a look. So you've got to do this where it says all comments rather than just relevant comments.
Yes,
What's the difference between what makes a comment relevant on Facebook? It's on your post. It's therefore relevant. It's weird. However they decide what's relevant or whatever. What have you got? Deadly Assassin episode 3 from John Hamilton. A few people listening. Genesis Daleks 4 from Ian O'Hagan. David Campbell has come up with a few. He says he can't just pick one, so I'm going for my top 4 from classic and modern. The Time Warrior episode 1, yes, when Lynx the Sontaran removes his helmet and we see his face, his potato features for the first time. Actually, the Sontarans have given us some really, really good cliffhangers. 2 of them at least, just by taking off their helmets, if not 3 or 4. But also episode 1 of the 2 Doctors does the same sort of thing. I was astonished again, when it's revealed that it's Sontarans about to invade that space station. David's also gone for Terror of the Zygons episode 1, yes. Pyramids of Mars, Earthshock episode 1. Army of Ghosts, that was a good one, wasn't it? Remember that when those strange ghostly figures that we kind of know as Cybermen actually turn out to be Cybermen. Utopia, which we said, Turn Left, that's brilliant. The Name of the Doctor, that's true as well. The Name of the Doctor revealed that ending, wasn't it? And introducing John Hurt as the Doctor. And it's like, what? How? John Hurt and how? What? Another brilliant moment from the modern series. I love that. There we go. Zach Holland on Doctor Who Infinity has gone for Inferno episode 6, exactly the same one that I wrote down there, which is brilliant. That's all good. Somebody else, Tim, has written Terror of the Vervoids episode 1 and episode 2 for that matter. I can't recall, Tim, but let's go with it and say yes. It's not my favourite one, I'll be honest. Apologies. Is that where Mel screams in tune with the theme tune or something? She hits that top note or whatever it is. It might be one of those. Might be episode 1 when it's all kicking off. There's explosions in the hydroponics center and stuff, and I can't remember episode 2, but and then final one I'll just read out here. Actually, there's a few more, but let's go with Henry Hugh Watkinson, who says, in the Sea Devils, the Master and the Doctor have a sword fight. The Master throws a dagger at the Doctor, but we don't see it land until the next episode. Yes, we do have a few shonky cliffhangers in the story, the series of Doctor Who, where it just seems to kind of reach a point and it's just cut, edited at the wrong moment, and it's like it's too late. That's what we've got to go with. It's already sent off now to the broadcasting bit, to the aerial man, the aerial people, right? Or whatever, guys who press the button. We can't stop it now.
Piece of content
you can imagine that, can't you? Yeah, the Doctor Who office sends a runner over to the broadcasting house or whatever, trying to get to the can of film before it's broadcast, and he runs in. Wait, Doug, the episode of Doctor Who. Don't show it. We can't have read it. We can't show it. It's literally, I can't. And Doug's like, "What's that, mate? No, it's too late, Gov. It's already in the can, mate. Yeah, I ain't got to do anything now. But we still got 8 hours, haven't we? All right. It's once in the can, it's in the can, go. You ain't going to stop it now, so sorry, mate. You should have thought of that before you come over. Now, if you'd have done what I said and actually showed it in shot, then you'd been all right. But I'm really sorry, mate. I can't. It's more than my job's worth, innit? And to be honest, mate, after this, we're just going to throw the fuckers in the skip anyway. So what's the problem? Don't worry about it. No one's going to see it again. No lifetime value, apparently. That's what it is. So, yeah, we'll just trash it after anyway. So don't worry about it, love. You get yourself back home, get yourself down to Baker's, grab a spud, get back making Doctor Who, whatever it is. Whatever, yeah. That's what it is. Doug's got a lot to answer for, mate. I tell you.
Yeah, Doug's obviously been on your mind.
Yeah. Doug. See that over there? That's Doug. Doug's dead. Sorry, Doug. It's great fun, mate. I've enjoyed this chat. It's been a lot of fun,
it's been
as
good.
always.
So, on that note...
Oh, wait. No, not on that note. On the best cliffhanger ever. Mate, and I'll be gutted. I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight unless I'd mentioned this one. But we have to give a mention to the shonkiest of all cliffhangers. The cliffhanger that may have seemed okay in the writing of it, in the script, I believe it was. And it was all signed off. They acted it out. They filmed it from different angles. They edited it. They put it together. And it was all signed off and sent down to Doug. But when you watch it on the TV, you think, what is that? It is the literal cliffhanger of Sylvester McCoy's Seventh Doctor climbing over the edge of a railing in Iceworld in Dragonfire at the end of episode 1 to get himself into a position where he's literally on a cliffhanger, literally hanging from a cliff. Now, they just about get away with it because in that very same story, there's a lot of discussion about the kind of existentialism and metaphysics and, all kinds of stuff like that. And it is a little bit meta in a lot of ways. So actually having that as a cliffhanger kind of works, even if it wasn't intended. And even if the director, Chris Cuff, goes, I have no idea. Just no idea. It just went wrong. Everything was working, but it just went wrong. And sometimes they do, and sometimes it's too late. And Doug's going to go, sorry, mate, you've had your time. That's it. It's in the can. It's queued up now, ready to go. 3 to 1, it's off. So, but that's part of the enemies. Yeah, that's part of the brilliance of Doctor Who. Sometimes mostly it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we don't care. We love it anyway.
So this has been fun talking cliffhangers, and if you already tweeted us your favourite cliffhanger, thank you. We couldn't read them all out tonight, but if you haven't told us,
that was a really popular post.
It was very popular, it was really good. So thank you for that, and
thank you very much.
Stick with us. We'll be back on Who Corner to Corner podcast very soon. We're going to have a very special guest who goes by the name of